Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Fantasy Football University, FFU, coming at you yet again in week 11 of the regular season, week 11 of the fantasy football season, week 11 in all of your hearts. I am Mr. Bill DeCouslis, and we have a special guest today. I am with Mr. Johnny D. Mr. Johnny D, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing quite well. How are you guys doing? Tom, unfortunately, is indisposed for today, so I'm filling in to help out the squad.
Absolutely. We got an interesting week here. It's very auspicious that you should be joining me today because the first matchup we've got involves both of our team, which we'll get to in just a moment. Let's just quickly touch on some of the latest news that hit very recently ahead of from our waiver show, which by the way, we should make a mention to everybody. We are recording this today on Wednesday evening. So to be ahead of time from our normal Thursday drop time, and some of the news that just hit. First of all, you got Jameis Winston, who's now going to be starting for the Giants, at least in this game. No idea about the foreseeable future. That has some impact. We'll get to that in a little bit later today, and more sad news. So sad per se, I guess, if you have him on your team, again, good for him because it's not something serious. So Marvin Harrison had a surgery for appendicitis. He will be out for this game. He might be out 2 weeks. They don't think so, but at least for this game. So we'll point out how that affects the game when we get to it today. Any other news hit your desk this morning, today at all that we missed from the waiver show?
I don't think so. I think you've covered everything, and obviously we're recording this Wednesday evening, so things could change. So folks throughout the rest of the week and through the weekend should
Yes.
be paying attention to folks who are practicing, not practicing, whatnot. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and wanted to make a mention for this week. So Tommy obviously handles the Sunday live stuff, and we've made a point now for every Sunday live that we cover all of what would otherwise be changes from us recording this show to like if there's any impacts of ins or outs or injuries or anything like that. And he goes out of his way to point that out on Sunday live of what deviates from what we cover in this show. So there we go. All the interesting stuff out the way. Let's jump into week 11 here, the preview. And before we get to the start sits, I just want to mention all of our must starts and probably starts will be posted in the description of this episode's video on YouTube. So please check us out there. All right, cool. Ready to jump in?
Yes, sir. Let's rumble.
All right, let's start off with the slaughter. We've got the New York Football Jets. Oh boy, at the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots are home favorites by 12 and a half points. And the over under there is 43 and a half points. By the way, all of our lines and everything we get from FanDuel. Thank you very much, FanDuel. I don't thank you for this game though. Man, not a lot of points for the Jets. This is going to be a bad game. Garrett Wilson's not playing. Yeah, this is going to be a bad game.
Hmm.
Must starts for the Patriots. The Patriots defense. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the number one defense of the week, the New England Patriots defense. We got another must start here, based on his really amazing performance, Travion Henderson. Now, if Stevenson is in, I still think Henderson's a good play here against the horrible, horrible, awful New York Jets. But maybe that's not the case going forward. Tommy and I were identifying Henderson could be a trade away before your trade deadline to capitalize on his massive performance because it looks like Vrabel's going to want to go both of them for the remainder of the year. But for now, Henderson's a must start. Rock and roll with him against the Jets, and of course Drake May. Let's go. I mean, he's MVP candidate Drake May. Let's go. 8-2 New England Patriots. You roll with Drake May against the poorest New York Jets. Probably starts here. On the Patriots side, because of the Kayshon Boutte, he's probably not going to be in. You could probably roll with Stephon Diggs. He's been having some good games. There's been some bad games. I know that we've been pointing out that the Patriots are kind of like a crapshoot, but with Boutte out, hopefully, it might be a bit of a consolidation. So you could roll with Diggs as a probably, and for the same reasons, you could roll with Hunter Henry as a probably at the tight end position. And we have obviously, you noticed that we didn't mention any must starts for the Jets. We have one probably start for the Jets, Brees Hall, and man, I don't like it. Johnny, before we move on to other options, I mean, are there leagues in which you would sit Brees Hall?
It depends on what you have on your roster. Obviously, folks drafted him quite high, so I mean, he's going to be your starter every single week because he's at least your RB2, depending on what's on your team, and maybe you lucked out at the wire at some point earlier in the year. But I'm not touching anybody else on the Jets offense. I'm not touching Justin Fields. Not touching anybody else. Any of the second round receiver picks from a couple years ago they just brought in the trades, not touching them either. If they have fan out and look wonderful on Thursday night, great. Then you make that decision going into next week for week 12. But for now, I'm not touching anybody.
Yeah, it's nice that you mentioned that because I mean, like, there's literally nobody to mention in other options here for this. Like, no, just don't play anybody for the Jets. Just close your eyes and look away. It's just not going to happen.
Would you drop Garrett at this point? Because he's probably going to IR. I wouldn't personally. I mean, I'm holding on for
So
maybe the last couple weeks of maybe a playoff push, but
I might. So we talked about this on the waiver show. So, if they put him on IR, yes, I would drop him. That's 4 weeks now. It's week 11 now. So you lose him for week 11, 12, 13, and 14. You would only
mhm.
get him back for just the playoffs. And presumably, maybe there's going to be, like who knows how good he's going to be that first week. So, I mean, like you got to get there. Maybe if I'm a dominant team and I'm in a dominant position, I hold on to him for that thing. But it's so hard, just like, especially if you're struggling to make it, you need that roster spot.
Mm.
So, and not to mention the fact that, Wilson's been real good in the games that he's played, but it just feels like a house of cards because he's not, Fields has been so bad.
No, so I'm going to throw out the game against Cleveland because he still wasn't healthy enough in order to be on there on the field. But before that point, he was a PPR machine, which, in a bad offense, if he's the number one receiver and they're playing on a lot of garbage time, which the Jets have done for a good portion of the first half of the year, that's somebody that I want to have in my roster for the second half of games if the Jets are down 20 plus points or so. So I wouldn't be too quick to release him from your roster. If you can hold him, I would suggest you do.
Well, I have him in two different leagues and I'm waiting for the IR designation. And one of those leagues, I might be forced into dropping him for that because
It depends on
I absolutely need that roster space, but it's a difficult question.
right.
Um, well, I guess lest us close out this horrible game. Any other options you'd be willing to throw in for the Patriots? I mean, I feel like we named everybody. I will say that in a lot of leagues, people might have still picked up Jennings because they got so excited about the touchdown 2 weeks ago. If Stevenson's out, they just might destroy the Jets so bad that you could probably get some garbage time points out of Jennings, although they might just roll with Henderson. So maybe that's a route that I wouldn't go. Yeah, let's move on from this awful, 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 horrible game here.
please,
Like
please do.
we got the Washington Commanders at the Miami Dolphins. Miami are home favorites minus 2.5 points. The over under there is 47.5 points. Must starts for this game. Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle. Let's go. That's their entire offense, basically. On we got no must starts on Washington. We'll get to all that in a moment. Probably starts. We have one probably start in this game, and that's Deebo Samuel. And I have been disappointed with Deebo as of late. I mean, he kind of saved a little bit of his game last game. It was getting a little dicey there. If it wasn't for that, he's basically been one of the worst people in fantasy since week 5. But up to week 5, he was basically the best pick in fantasy by that point. So I guess I've landed where if you got him, you're probably trying to play him because he's one of the last guys standing. Luke McCaffrey's out, McLaurin's out. You know, Mariota's going to need to get him the ball. I think it's about right. Not happy about it. Low end wide receiver too. Um, Other options here, Johnny. I would love for you to defend trying to play any Washington running back. Can you?
If I had to pick one of the bunch, I'm picking JCM. At least they're playing Miami and they're not at Seattle or some very tough, rush defense. So from that aspect, it's something I think you could try to plug in there if you have somebody on a buy, potentially for the Jonathan Taylor owner. That's probably a half decent pivot for you for JCM. But I'm not touching any other guys in the Washington backfield. There's just too much variance.
Okay. I agree with you. Other options here for Washington, Ertz, we have Tommy and I have the equation thing. The equation is if McLaurin's out and Jaden Daniels is in, then you play Hurts. We do not have that equation because it's Mariota, even though McLaurin is out. So you stay away from Ertz. The shine's fallen off at this point. Other options for Miami, though. I mean, would you be willing to take a shot on Washington?
I think I would put Washington and Chris Moore on the other side and probably about the same conversation. So there's somebody that you could take a shot with unless you like something else. in a different matchup later in the week.
You'd be willing to take a shot on Chris Moore?
It's Miami's god awful defense. I mean, there's probably worse options you can go with, especially because McLaurin's going to be out.
Well, let's
So,
be
I mean,
very clear. They did not have a god awful defense this past week against Buffalo, and they're home again against a much worse offense, hampered by various injuries, etc. So I don't know if I would go that far. I don't know if I would go that
but
far.
I understand. I'm looking at the entire length of the season in Miami has been, for the most part, except for a couple of weeks, has been awful.
Okay.
So I'm not hanging my hat on Buffalo throwing a stinker in Florida versus what I've seen the other, I think, 8 games Miami has played up to this point. So
Okay. Yeah, I do agree that Washington could be a deep league shot though, for sure. Quick mention of the quarterbacks here. So both quarterbacks are in streaming contention. An extra kind of a extra mention of Tua. Tommy and I both felt like it's probably okay, especially in a 6 point touchdown league. Their implied points is 25. And of course, Mariota gets his a lot of his points via rushing yards, which is a decent enough baseline. So hopefully he gets it done. This could be an ugly game. We'll see. We'll see how that one goes. Let's go to the next game. We got the Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota are home favorites -3 points. The over under there is 47.5 points. This is a very significant game for the NFC North here. Must starts for the Bears. DeAndre Swift, who's resumed his role as the lead back, and Roma Dunze, welcome back. No more Schneid. You got your million targets, and your dad helped you out. So congratulations, he's back. He's back in business. The Minnesota side, you're playing Aaron Jones. Let's go. He's back in business himself, getting lots of points, and he looks real good out. 2 games out of the injury situation, he looks good. And Justin Jefferson, hopefully he has a bounce back game. You're always playing Jefferson anyway. He's a stud. Probably starts. Now, given the line and given the landscape of defenses this week, we've got the Vikings as a probably start. It's a well-coached team. It's a good defense anyway. It's not too many points for the Bears, but given the defensive landscape, this is probably one of the top 10 to 12 that you're going to get your hands on. So you could roll with them. There's a lot worse options for sure. We have no other probably starts to mention in the game. So let's talk other options here. Johnny, so we've been lamenting. We had a whole conversation on the waiver show about DJ Moore. And it's sort of a lament about the Bears offense in general, which it's like there's a lot of bouncing around. I mean, we just had the whole red light, green light with Roma Dunze thing. Would you be willing to throw in DJ Moore here, or are you trepidatious about all of the options? How do you feel about the Bears?
I would absolutely play DJ Moore. I realize that the first half of the season has not gone to plan. He had a couple of good weeks and then he had a goose. But then look on the other side. Roman Dunze just had a goose and then he put up 20 points. So with wide receivers, you're going to have, some really, really good weeks and some really, really bad weeks. I think this is a place you can play DJ Moore because I don't think the Bears are going to be able to run the ball very well. I just don't think that's going to happen at the
That
Vikings.
that you could be right about that. Yeah.
Also, I
Go ahead.
have the feeling that Chicago is going to be playing by behind by several scores for most of this game, which means they're going to have to throw the ball. Which means it goes back to your point for the Vikings defense. They may be able to get themselves a couple of turnovers from Caleb. Vice versa, that means like more opportunities for Romadudze and DJ Moore.
Okay. How do you feel about Colston Loveland here? I mean, he followed up his monstrosity performance in a good way with a fairly pedestrian performance. I've been lukewarm on him in general, other than that one game, because basically, it seems like him and Komet are doing a lot of vulturing of each other. Now, I got
Mhm.
it. I think at this point he's established himself as the lead guy. Um, I think the shine has worn off a little bit. I think there's better tight end options. Do you agree?
I agree that they're vulturing off each other. Neither one of them are getting enough targets in order to be viable week to week to throw in there. So I'd look elsewhere.
All right, let's talk Minnesota. Other options here. So I know you're way higher on Addison and Naylor than I am. I think I would categorize Addison as a decent shot and Naylor as a don't bother. I know you disagree. Go ahead.
I think Addison is a play. I also think Naylor is a spot star for you this week. JJ McCarthy loved him last week, and I think that continues into this week. So maybe they've built a rapport over the offseason through the first half of the year because he's been injured for a huge chunk. So if he's on the sideline talking to the third string wide receiver, that's going to be Naylor. So that's going to build a rapport relationship with him. So keep an eye on that for the rest of the season for guys who may need a receiver.
Maybe I disagree with you about Naylor, but I could see Addison having a decent enough game. Hopefully, we get a bounce back from Jefferson, and I think most people would be happy enough. I mean, it depends. We'll see if they continue to distribute the ball around the way they have. I mean, but by the way, on that topic, don't bother with T.J. Hawkinson. I mean, we've been identifying him as a drop candidate, so just don't even bother with him.
Well, by that token, if people are actually going to consider playing Colson Loveland this week, then I would rather play Hawkinson over Loveland based off the conversation we just had. So
I
that
think that there's way
I
better options. I mean, we're going to talk about
yeah,
lots of other guys. I
I
will
agree.
say, I will say that in this game, this is another game that both quarterbacks are we've identified as streaming options. And I know Caleb doesn't even particularly count considering his own, like he's well owned in a lot of leagues, but he's not must or probably here given the line and given, like the kind of game it's going to be. McCarthy, though, the both of them, if you need to, you could throw them in. But have your upside expectations capped a little bit. I think that's a bit better
I
good way to say it.
I think folks will find better streaming quarterbacks other than Caleb this week. I think this week you want to
Yes.
look elsewhere.
Yes. We're gonna get to them very shortly here. Let's get to the next game. We get the Green Bay Packers at the New York Giants. The Packers are road favorites, -7 points. The over under there is 43.5 points. Okay, before we say anything else about this game, just a reminder. So Jameis Winston is playing quarterback for the Giants. Um, and they are at home. I mean, if I was a betting man, I would take the over on this game. That having been said, given the line, I'm not gonna not play the Packers defense because even if they hit the over, Jameis could throw himself some 2 to 3 interceptions along with his 7,000 yards. So, you must start Packers defense. Other must starts in this game. We got Josh Jacobs, and that's about it. Let's get to probably here. So probably starts, especially given the Winston news that it's Winston and it's not Russ, and how he's been performing, and especially like he finally got 2 great games in a row. Since week 4, he's the tight end. I think the stat was since week 4, he's the tight end 4 on the season. Probably start Theo Johnson. I mean, given the tight end landscape, I think he's a great play this week. One more probably start, and I know it's yucky, but Jordan Love, if he can't get it done against the Giants, with upwards of 25 to 26 implied points when it might even turn into some kind of a shootout with Jameis Winston, then that's it. I'm never bringing his name up again. But for now, probably start Jordan Love. Um, Other options here, Johnny, I'm super excited about I can't put him in muster probably, but I'm super excited about Wandale and Slayton. Are you excited too, or we're getting a little ahead of ourselves?
You see, I remember Jameis's year last year in Tampa when he had the 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. It was so entertaining watching because he's going to throw for 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. So it was just a real joy for fantasy guys in order to be a part of. I think that's going to actually show its face. Jameis is going to sling the ball. It doesn't matter if they're down 30 or if they're up 30. He's just going to sling the ball left, right, and center. So beneficiaries of that are absolutely going to be Slayton and Wandale for that. So those are guys if you want to throw in there. I know Green Bay has quality defense, but I mean Jameis is still Jameis, and he's going to throw the ball no matter what's going on. So
Yeah, and I think both of them are good shots if you have them. And and for that reason, maybe he's raised the ceiling a little bit on the game of what it would have been with Russ, and so therefore, Tracy and Singletary, emergency running back plays, you could throw either one of them in. I mean, they're both going to 50-50, but if you need, 7 to 10 points out of a running back too, you could do way worse than that.
yeah, I would if I could find another option, I would. A name I do like in this game is Wicks. He had 8 targets last week. No Golden, no Kraft against an awful Giants defense.
Yeah,
So
let's double down there. So we don't officially have the news on Golden. But let's assume that's the case, that Golden's out and the Kraft, and obviously not Kraft. Watson could get injured at the drop of a hat. Wicks is fine. He just has to catch the targets that he actually gets. And given the Dobbs injury situation, I don't disagree with you. I think part of the problem is that Love has to actually execute this. I mean, we've been saying this the whole year. Like, other than Kraft, like it's been spreading it around to such a degree that it really decreased the value of whoever it was that you were going to throw in there, minus a Dobbs game or two.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I think it's a deeper shot. I think I could probably name a couple, and we could use him as a barometer. Would you like to play him or this guy or this guy? I'd rather play Wandale or Slayton than Wicks for sure in this game.
I think I would chase the better offense with that. So maybe I would play Wicks.
Okay. Okay.
It's
Uh,
very close though. I mean, I wouldn't fault anybody for choosing the other in this option. So
I think full PPR. It's Wandale's. I think Wandale's pretty good. I mean, but no, your point is well taken with the Packers there. I mean, and hey, we've been bringing them up over and over and over here. So I mean, if you really want to go nuclear or just have fun, you could throw Jameson as a streaming option, I guess. Um,
if you're feeling, crazy and you want to, have your heart, fall out of your chest for 3 hours.
yes, it won't be boring. Put it that way. And yeah, stay away from Musgrave. There's better options here. Um, let's go to the next game. We got the Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta are home favorites minus 3.5 points. The over under there is a small 41.5 points. So in the must starts, we've got the Falcons defense for sure. You could roll with them here. We don't exactly know what the Panthers are, but we're gonna trust Vegas in this one for sure. I see the Falcons winning this one here and putting the hurt on the Panthers. We're not going to get a Panthers 30-0 out of nowhere, put it that way. Other must starts for the Falcons. Bijan Robinson, who needs to have a bounce back, and this is the game to do it. He's going to have a bounce back in this game. And Drake London, who seems to get 7,000 targets a game, and there's no reason to think that won't continue. No must starts for the Panthers. Probably starts, which is where most of the Panthers are. So we'll identify the Panthers defense as a probably start. They were good last week against the Saints. They were great the week before that against the Packers. In a game in which the line is, 3.5 and the over-under is 41.5 points, you could roll with the Panthers given the defensive landscape. So there's worse options for sure. Rico's a probably start. He's been great as of late, but just keep an eye on the fact that he's splitting with Chuba. So upside is capped to a degree, but if he's going to continue to perform the way he does, it's hard to sit him. So just be wary of that going forward. We've got Tet as a probably start. He's a couple games removed from putting some big numbers up again, but he's another guy that is hard to sit. I mean, he gets his targets. He's by far the number one option for Bryce Young. Unless I've really hooked up at wide receiver, I still kind of get him in there. And last probably start, I mean, Kyle Pitts, Johnny, like if you think of, Drake London as the first, second, and third target on every single play that is a passing play for Michael Penix, at least Kyle Pitts is the distant guy that's after him. He's always on the field. He's always running routes, and he does get whatever targets that London doesn't get. And that's the biggest thing that you want to do at tight end is you want to chase volume, and Pitts is going to get that, especially in today's uh, in the tight end landscape. So let's get to some other options here, and I would love to get your opinion on this. So, you know, we've been identifying Mooney as a drop candidate forever. I've been doing some research online about this. People are obsessed with him online. Do you think that it's just a groupthink thing and they're obsessed for all the wrong reasons? Because there's no way I'm playing him here, and there's no way I even have him on my roster. Are we correct to think that?
I think if this is an opportunity for a quote unquote get right game for Darnell Mooney.
Oh, you're part of
eh,
the groupthink then. Okay.
I mean, am I, putting my stamp on it like it's going to happen? No, but considering what your wide receiver market is, you may want to consider it because they're at home against Carolina. Um, what do you think about for maybe not for Algier in a spot start here for folks?
I mean, if you're in an emergency situation, if you think Algier is going to vulture two more touch, he's not going to vulture two touchdowns. But do you think he rolls in and vultures a touchdown? It's a decent enough bet. Um, the thing is, though, if
He's getting double-digit touches now on a pretty regular basis.
that's
So
right, that's right. I would have to think about who I would be starting him again. Here's a good thing. So, what about any member of the New York Giants backfield, Tracy or Singletary? Would I rather
yeah,
play him or Algier? I think that's very close.
I'd
Um,
probably play Algier in that situation, honestly.
I think it's very close, but I'm not going to fault people for if those were their options to consider playing Algier.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
your point's well taken there. Um, I would not be playing any other options on Carolina. Let them all go, right? Nothing else, nothing really to mention there, and stay away from both quarterbacks.
It,
Better.
it's probably worth, an off-season for a conversation, but are we done with Bryce Young? I don't think he's the guy in Carolina. This is year three. I'm just not seeing it. So I think Carolina is also seeing that as well. But I think they're going to be looking for another quarterback next year. But
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, their record is not awful. I mean, after just getting beat by the Saints, eh. We'll resume this conversation in the off season. We'll see.
okay,
We'll see how this goes.
just food for thought.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much done with him as the franchise quarterback there. So
Yeah. Well, let's get some more failed franchise quarterbacks. We've got the LA Chargers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. This ought to be good. The LA Chargers are road favorites -3 points. The over-under there is a 43.5 points. Must starts in this game. You're playing Travis Etienne, and on the Chargers side, you're playing Ladidi McConkey, Lad McConkey himself. Let's go. And Oronde Gadsden is a must start if he's playing. If he is not playing, obviously he's not a must start, but you don't really need to take into consideration any backups there for tight end. Um, but that conversation, put a pin in that because we'll talk about the wide receivers in a moment. Probably starts. Given the line, the Chargers are a good probably start defense. Sometimes Jacksonville does like to explode and put up a lot of points. This might not be that game. Well coached Harbaugh team. Chargers are a good probably start. And Kamani Vidal, he's had he goes up and down, up and down, up and down in terms of big production. You're a Vidal owner. I see this being a good game from him. Am I wrong?
yeah, I agree. He's probably going to end up anywhere with 16 to 20 total touches and probably about 80 yards and probably a touchdown. So to me, he's a guy who's in my lineup every week until the Omar Hampton situation gets figured out once he comes back after the bye.
Yeah. And we'll revisit that when that happens. We got one more probably start, and that's quarterback Justin Herbert, and he's not the guy who I was suggesting was not a franchise quarterback. We'll get to him in a moment. So Justin Herbert here, he himself he's having some blow up games. He's having some meh games. He's had some bad games. I think this could be, especially given the quarterbacks now, perfectly good probably start. It's hard to sit him. I mean, very few teams are going to have a better option than him. We'll get to some of what those options might be, but I think he's a perfectly good probably start in this game. So other starts, and I don't want to bury the lead too much longer. Almost everywhere online, people are identifying Trevor Lawrence as a streaming quarterback option. He is not for me. He is a complete full sit. And I kind of mentioned it on the waiver show, Johnny. I've basically had it up to here with the Jaguars. I thought that last week's performance was absolutely horrendous. Um, they're awful. I don't know if it's partially because of Mr. Duval coaching. I don't know how much blame goes on that, but I know that Trevor Lawrence is nowhere near as good as his contract would say, as good as he says that he is, as good as everybody says. Do you agree? Disagree?
So Trevor has had some good games. He's had a lot of bad games, and no, and by and large, he has not lived up to what he was supposed to be. And I don't think the whole problem is the Liam Cohen, the new head coach there. I think they whiffed horribly on going for moving up to go get Hunter when they could have waited a couple of picks to go get somebody else and put a lot of capital to that. That doesn't help their team. Also, too, like you can't keep having these bad performances. You just can't. At some point, am I supposed to take you seriously as a team, or am I supposed to just pretend you're about a 7 to 9 win team every year? Maybe, maybe not. You can't be up. What were they up? Over 3 touchdowns against Houston, and they lost that game. You good quality teams don't do that. They just don't. So I agree with you. I can't take him seriously, regardless as a franchise quarterback. Streaming for this week, I think there are other options that are better than him, but
Agreed. Yeah.
if like the 5 or 6 options that we could probably agree on that would be better are all gone, yeah, you could throw him in there, but I would probably want to look elsewhere if you could.
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
like we identified them earlier as streaming options. I'd rather play Tua or Mariota than him in this, for sure. It's not a question.
Mhm.
Well, on that topic, I mean, this is definitely a game to talk about some guys here. Other options for the Jaguars. So, um, annoyingly, they're not officially, they're doing this stupid coach speak thing again, where they're not actually answering the question. But we're gonna assume that Brian Thomas is not playing in this game. Let's just safe enough to assume. If that's the case, I think that Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers are both decent shots. Parker Washington was a big waiver wire consideration for us. We identified him earlier this week. So that's both good guys that should end up with a lot of targets. Again, how good the targets are coming from Trevor Lawrence, that's an open question. Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers, Johnny, who would you like if you had a chance at playing both? I'm more on the Washington side. I know Tommy's more on the Myers side. Where do you fall there?
I would probably pay Myers over Washington, but I think you could probably pay both and feel a little bit more comfortable with that.
Okay. Yeah, they'll probably both end up with targets. So with that, speaking of amorphous situations, so let's talk about the Chargers, other receivers here. So in my opinion, Keenan Allen is entirely dependent on Gadsden. If Gadsden plays, I don't play Keenan Allen. If Gadsden doesn't play, I would think Keenan Allen's a decent enough shot. Now, Keenan Allen we had as a drop candidate earlier this week. And I drew a direct correlation to exactly when Oronde Gadsden's ascension began to when Keenan Allen just went completely down. And also just as a consideration, like they've got this game and then they've got the bye. So that's probably a good enough spot to drop somebody. That having
Mhm.
been said, if Gadsden doesn't play, would you be willing to throw Keenan Allen in here?
Uh, to me, he's a full sit. I think
No
I
matter
think the
what.
Bloom. I think so. I think Herbert is going to look for other options with the ball, and Allen's going to start to fade into the darkness. And maybe he'll have a week or two where he makes some quality catches that helps the Chargers win a game. But in order to throw somebody in there in a matchup, I think you could look other places this week, especially because they're going into the bye. And by that same token, I mean we're all hoping Gadsen plays. He's been absolutely fantastic the week he has, but they may sit him this week because their bye is the week after. So
That
just keep that in mind too. So for the Gadsen owners, have another plan in place already for your tight end position if he's not going to dress. So
so with and without, please give your opinion both with or without Gadsden. How do you feel about Quentin Johnston?
I'm playing him. I'm
Regardless.
playing him. I think so. I'm playing. I'm
So
not
you,
playing
you think
Allen.
he's a good shot then?
I think so.
It's been up and down since his really good start to the season. I mean,
Like a lot of receivers, Justin Jefferson has a lot of local weeks too.
yeah,
So
that's a good point. I think part of the problem there, Johnny, is like the way that people think about it is like he's not the big even Lad's not the big guy, but he's like the target machine. He's going to be there in the middle of the field getting the targets, getting the targets, getting the catches, getting the catches. Quentin Johnson is a bit more of a more of a downfield type of threat guy, even though it was better in the beginning of the season. But if you feel confident about it, then, I'm sure a lot of people in that position like you are.
people underestimate the impact of losing Slater for the year before the year started and Alt now gone for the year. It's having on that offense. It's a big problem for them because those are two, cornerstone tackles that are not there. So that's affecting the entire offense. That's, something that's going without being said here. So
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I to me, he's a good shot, and you feel a bit more confident than I do. But yeah,
mm.
people can say what they are. Um, let's go to the next game. So there's going to be some points scored in this game. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh are home favorites minus 5.5 points. The over under there is 49.5 points. So before I say anything else, I just wanted to mention, Tommy identified that, you know, we don't really know what to make of Pittsburgh, but he thinks that something to note is they tend to play better defense at home. I don't know if I am going to apply that to think that the Cincinnati Bengals aren't about to put up a whole lot of points here, and I think they will. I think both of these teams put up a lot of points, so we got a lot of a lot of players to talk about. Must starts for the Bengals. The crusty crew over here. You've got Chase Brown, you got Jamar Chase, and you got T Higgins. On the Pittsburgh side, you're starting Beast Jalen Warren and you're starting DK Metcalf. If DK Metcalf needed a game to get right, this is going to be the game to get right. uh, probably starts. Guess what? We've got both of the old men as good probably starts. You want streaming options? These are the guys to go with. Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers. Let's go. Especially in 6-point touchdown leagues, because they're going to stand in the they're going to stand in the pocket with negative rush yards and throw for a whole lot of yards in this game.
Wrangler jeans ball. That's what we're gonna have.
It just might be. All right, other options here. It just seems annoying to people who want good things from DK Metcalf that Rodgers tends to be spreading it around, and that includes like his tight ends and backup receiver options. Would you be willing to throw in Jonnu Freiermuth or Austin or Roman Wilson? I wouldn't, but
Honestly, I would rather with Brendan Strange if he's playing for Jacksonville over any of the options you just said.
and
So
since we aren't, then no.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a full no. Stick with the guys that we mentioned. On the Cincinnati side, I guess there's some hope for, you know, big giant blow up games, but we identified the guys. We know who we're playing, and those are the guys to stick with. Stay away from everybody else, including, Gesicki, Yosivas, etc. Not worth talking about anybody else there.
I do have one name,
Oh, okay.
Calvin Austin.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like these
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
tertiary options, Austin and Wilson. So
Well, let me throw this one at you then. Who would you rather play? Calvin Austin, Wicks, or Keenan Allen?
if Gadsen is out, Keenan Allen.
Of the
If
three, really.
Yeah, if Gadsen
Okay.
is in, probably. Oh man, maybe Austin.
So you didn't pick Wicks in either scenario. Okay. Okay, that's good to know. That the
No,
level
because
of difference between, where you may sit on certain guys you throw in for 1 week versus me. So yeah.
yeah, I just think that it's I don't feel I'm not as I just I'm not I don't really like Wicks. That's basically it. Basically,
Okay.
um, yeah. Let's go to another game that should have a lot of points. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo are home favorites minus 5.5 points. The over under there is 47.5 points. Um, must starts for the Bills. James Cook, let's go. And Josh Allen, let's go. Must starts for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Emeka Egbegbu, as Gronkowski would say. Emeka Buka, he's a must start. Now I was a little bit worried about this line, so we don't have Baker as a must start. Um, let's get to probably starts so I could elucidate that. Probably starts. We've got Khalil Shakir. Let's go. I mean, in a game where their implied points is almost 26.5 points, almost 27. And with Dalton Kincaid out, Shakir, who's been the only relevant wide receiver in Buffalo, let's go. You could probably roll with him. If you're going to roll with him in any game, this is the game to do it when they're at home and Dalton Kincaid is out for sure. Other probably starts here. Cade Otton, it's hard to sit him. He's had, identified in the waiver wire. He's had 5 straight good games, and he's very necessary with Evans and Godwin being out. He's been the biggest beneficiary there. So now let's just talk about Baker. Baker's a beast, and it kind of doesn't matter really what matchup he's in. However, I think this is one where maybe it does matter just a little bit. I mean, the implied points total that Vegas currently has is 21 points for the Buccaneers. And this is the Bills after, coming back home after being embarrassed by the Dolphins. I'm a little bit worried about Baker here. Am I wrong to be worried?
This game to me screams over to me. This game, I think both teams are going to score 30 points. So
Okay. So maybe
yeah,
not.
I think
Okay.
we're going to see a whole lot of offense in this game.
Okay. Maybe I'm imbuing a little bit of fear based
Well,
on.
so Tampa just had they lost at home to New England, which is a game I'm sure they really did not want to lose. Buffalo
Right.
just got smoked at Miami.
Right.
Okay. So both teams are going to come in there with a little bit of chip on their shoulder because both teams are still chasing that number one seed.
That's
Both
true.
teams are still chasing the division titles and whatnot. So that's stuff to keep in mind because I'm sure Tampa's going to want to have wrapped up the NFC South as quick as humanly possible. So then they could just worry about maybe potentially being the number one overall seed in the NFC. So both teams have a lot to play for here. This should be, I think this game is absolutely going to hit the over.
Okay. Okay. You make me feel better about it. Other options here in this game. So, part of the deal is like, you're not really going to be playing anybody else for Buffalo because it's kind of just the Josh Allen, James Cook show. We identified Khalil Shakir. He's the only wide receiver, so I'm not willing to be playing any other options for the Bills. And boy, there are a lot of them. No Keon Coleman, no Josh Palmer, no Curtis Samuel, no backup, Dawson Knox, nothing like that. Um,
Really? So no Kincaid, you still are not going to play Knox in a
no, I'm
game
not.
that you think Buffalo's going to score 30 points.
I no, and my reason is because I don't think Knox is anywhere near the kind of tight end that Kincaid is. I recognize now. Look, I there are way worse people. Like if I had to as an emergency, yeah, you try to chase where there's a high over under for sure, and he's going to
Mm.
have a lot of opportunity. But like even like our problem with Kincaid, even though how well he was doing, was that A, he wasn't on the field all the time, and B, the way that the Bills play, they're just not utilizing, singular pass catchers as much. I mean, it was starting to go more to Kincaid, but it doesn't seem like it seemed more because of Kincaid's talent than it was a game plan thing to go to tight end X. You see what I'm saying?
Sounds like they should have traded for DJ Moore. That's what it sounds like to me, but
Well, they did
okay.
not. They liked the guys that they had there. So bold strategy. Let's see if it works out for them. But they gonna roll Khalil Shakir. Yeah, I would not be playing any other options for the Bills. Tampa Bay, though, we got a lot to talk about. So, Bucky Irving was actually seen at practice or had some kind of a limited practice. I think the information on that was spotty. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that he's playing this week. If he's playing, there's no question you play him because
I
I'd be
think
a
I
little worried. I'd want to
I
see
would
it.
I it depends on what your backfield is. If you're healthy there and you can survive him not playing him, even though he's going to dress and play, then do that. If you can't survive and you need W's, then you're throwing in Bucky Irving because he was most people's what, second round pick or so, give or take. So
Yeah,
he's
but
in your
I mean,
lineup.
draft capital at this point means very little. Like it just means like depending on like you've been rolling with whatever options you had up to this point. I got it
Well,
though. Your point's well
well,
taken. It's hard to if you know he's going to play to sit him. I mean,
well, if you did luck out in getting somebody like Vidal, for example, or something like that, and you're really thin at the position, yeah, you're throwing him in your lineup. You really don't have any other option at that point.
no, I would play Vidal over Irving if they declared him in. I'm a little worried. I want to see it from him before they
Okay.
throw him in there. Now I'm actually, especially because it's like it's like weird in a practice leading up to it, especially all the other conversations they had about it. To that point, I actually think it's all smoke and mirrors and that he's not playing in this game. So for that reason, if he's not playing in this game, both Rashad White and Sean Tucker are both very low end options that you could throw in if you're just trying to get some points, 7 to 11 points out of your running back too. It's not been pretty. They're a pass focused offense when Irving is not there. And, but there's worse options than getting running backs who are going to get touches in a game. So, assess your options as you have it. But this is sort of the main thing. So, we identified Tez Johnson as a big waiver wire pickup this past week. I think his opportunity is great in a game. And if you think it's going to be a shootout, then you should be feeling good about Tez Johnson, right?
He's a probably start for me.
Okay. Okay. So we're on the, we're, I think he's a good shot. I don't think it's too much to put him as a probably, especially given, given the options at hand. One thing I would love to get your opinion on, we talked, and again, we talked about it in the waiver show, like Chris Godwin, is he ever coming back?
Who knows at this point? I'm not, holding my breath. Even if he is playing this week, I'm not putting him in my lineup.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we'll see. And I can't wait for
think about
more.
it. Baker has done a fantastic job for most of this year, doing a lot with people being hurt around the offensive line, receivers, running back. He has done an absolutely fantastic job. That doesn't like even though I'm saying I think both teams are going to score 30 points this week, it doesn't translate into everybody on the entire offense is going to be a fantasy viable option for you. So
No, you're right.
keep that in mind.
Let's go to the next game. We've got the Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans. Houston are road favorites, -6.5 points. The over-under there is 37.5 points. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our second best defense of the week, the Houston Texans. Must start Houston Texans and Nico Collins. Let's go. Nico Collins is back and rocking and rolling. And to me, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, Stroud or Mr. General Mills himself, they're going to hyper target him. Nico Collins is so good. Probably starts. So we got Woody Marks here. I mean, in a game that they should smash this team, they might look to, you know, build up a bit more of a run game, try to open up the offense, try to, keep continuing to build momentum. I mean, you might not realize, Johnny, they're 4-5. So they win this game, they go to 500. They're well within the mix, especially in the AFC wild card race there. So they've got ideas going into the playoffs. So they're going to be trying to establish everything that they've got. So I think Woody Marks is a good probably start here. Other options in this game. So one of the deep shot waiver wire ads we had was Jaden Higgins. I don't know if I can justify getting him in here, but it's more of a, keep your eye on it in a game that might have a higher over under, which this one won't. But maybe I'm excited for him for future games. So I would not be getting him in, and obviously not Christian Kirk or anybody else like that. On the Tennessee side, Johnny, how do you feel about Pollard and Spears?
Uh, the problem is they're filtering each other. So I mean, most games Tennessee is playing by behind for multiple possessions for most of the game. I'd rather have Spears. If it's some sort of a game and only down a possession or they have a lead, I want to play Pollard. But I'm thinking in this game, because of how good Houston's defense is, that the PPR catches you can get from Spears are going to be more worthwhile. So I'm probably of the two going to play Spears, but I'm not counting on him to be an anchor for me this week for sure.
I agree with everything you said. In emergency, if you need to throw him in, like I like some of the other guys we were calling before, like I'd play Spears over Algier, over Tracy, over Singletary. But yeah, like the ceiling is capped. That's sort of
That's probably where these guys sit. They probably did fit just above those guys.
yeah, and Pollard will get you your 7 to 10 if you need it. I wouldn't be playing a single other option for Tennessee. No wide receivers. They got all the guys with the cool names, Io Manor and DK. None of them. Not playing any of them.
Yeah,
But
full set for them. Full
but
set.
I do want to identify Schultz. I mean, it's been unbelievable. I wouldn't have him as a probably start here because I think the train ends at some point. But if you want to roll and try to chase some points and, hopefully the train keeps rolling, you could roll with Dalton Schultz as a decent shot here.
Yeah,
So
over some of the other names we're looking at here, yeah. I mean, you could do worse than Schultz at Tennessee. So
absolutely.
hmm.
Let's go to the next game. We got the Seattle Seahawks at the LA Rams. The Rams are home favorites -3 points. The over-under is 48.5 points. This is going to be a very good game. Must starts in this game. Kyren Williams. Let's go. Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams and Matt Stafford. Let's go. Matt Stafford has been unbelievable thus far. In especially this week, where their implied points are 26 points. They're going to be a very competitive division match with Seattle. Let's go, Matt Stafford. Quick note on Devontae Adams. He does have the injury designation. They said that he could get back into the game this past game. I don't know necessarily if I believe that, but considering it's an oblique injury and that he had some, like everything they're saying this week, I'm on board with saying Devontae's probably going to play. So he plays, you roll with him and get your 1 yard touchdowns every week that it seems to happen. On the Seattle side, you are playing JSN. Let's go. Basically, him and Puka are the best. I mean, we got a game in which you have basically the two best uh, fantasy football wide receivers basically going at it here. So could be an interesting game. So JSN for sure. Probably starts. We have no probably starts in this game. So let's talk other options. Johnny, why don't you weigh in on the Walker Charbonnet nonsense here?
I am a Charbonnet owner in one of my leagues, but he's my third back that won't see the field unless somebody gets hurt. But honestly, I would of the two rather play Charbonnet, but I mean they are vulturing each other 50-50. So it's your bet literally week to week of who's going to have the better game. Last week it didn't matter. They absolutely destroyed the Cardinals. So this game, I don't think either one of them are going to probably score. I think this game is probably going to hit the under because I think both defenses are very, very good. So I would be cautious about how many of the maybe, maybe nots in this game you may want to touch. So
Yeah, I'll tell you this, it's this kind of tier. You have the Ken Walker, Charbonnet, Spears, Algier, Tracy Singletary tier of like, hey,
Well,
throw in a running back if you want to hopefully get some touchdowns or touches
I
or something.
I hold Walker and Charbonnet, a little bit higher than any of the other names you just mentioned. So over Spears and Pollard and Tracy and
I think
Singletary and all
I
those
I
names.
would hold
So
Spears over both of them, but I think it's close. I think it's close. These are very, very low shots at running back that you'd be taking. Other options here in this game, so the Seattle other options at receiver, now with the Shaheed thing, they've got quite the plethora of options here. I mean, to go along with JSN, you got Cup, Shaheed, and Horton.
mhm.
I think it's a other than JSN, I think it's too um, dissipated to kind of make a decision on who you might think about throwing in there. So I would, you could take a shot on one of them if you believe that that's going to be the case. And I know most people might say Cup. I think it's a bit too random, but if you believe it, go ahead, take that shot on it. Somebody else is going to be good, and that includes AJ Barner. So you just make the call. If you think those secondary options are going to go to Barner, Cup, Horton, then you go that route. Um, you could feel free to make your call on that. Uh, Other options for the Rams, though, it's such a consolidation of targets, so there's really nobody else to talk about. Stay away from everybody else. But I did want to have a conversation about Darnold, Johnny. So we don't have Darnold as a probably start, and we stopped talking about Darnold as a streaming option because he's just a starting quarterback, and he's been so good, and he's been, like commanding that offense. I am discouraged to see he's at that precipice, and then now he's got to go to the Rams. So I think it's hard to play him here. I don't think he's a top 12 quarterback. I wouldn't want to play him over Flacco, over Rodgers, over these guys that we named. But some of the other streaming options that we identified as decent shots, like Tua or Mariota or Caleb, I mean, where do you, or even JAMEIS maybe, but like where do you slot him in there? Do you think he's a good streaming option along with those guys or
No, and I've been dead wrong on Darnold this year. I thought Seattle was going to be awful, and I thought Darnold was going to be awful, and I was very wrong on that. I'll admit that here, but I'm not playing Darnold this week. He's a full set for me at the Rams. I think there's just too many other options you can play quarterback. That doesn't mean I'm dropping Darnold. I'm going to hang on to him
Sure,
because
sure.
he's been a QB1, for most of this year. But I would rather play Tua over Darnold this week, and I know that sounds terrifying given how the season has been, but
This
I'm just
week? Yeah.
but because this week, what the matchup is, and the Rams have a very, very good defense. So I think
I
it's a full sit.
I agree with you. If this game, to the dismay of fantasy owners, might turn into a bit of a slugfest too. Divisional NFC West battle. But I agree with your sentiments. But this doesn't mean you drop Darnold, and Darnold is still going to be good for a lot of the rest of the season. We'll
Mm-hmm.
keep an eye on that. Let's go to the next game. We got the San Francisco 49ers at the Arizona Cardinals. San Francisco are road favorites -3 points. The over under there is 47.5 points. So must starts. You're playing God himself. You're playing Christian McCaffrey, and you're playing George Kittle. On the Arizona side, you're playing Trey McBride, and now with the Harrison being out news, Trey McBride is likely to get 38,000 targets. So be on the lookout for that. God bless you guys who has Trey McBride on your team. Probably starts. We've identified the 49ers defense as a probably start. Again, this is a bad week for defenses in general. Unless you got like some of the best ones, then you're kind of seeing what you could find. But the 49ers are not a bad option. The Cardinals are going to be without Harrison, rolling with Brissett or whatever. And obviously they just gave up however many thousands of points to the Seattle defense. The 49ers are not as good as the Seattle defense, but they're a good probably start in this game. So the other probably start here is Jawan Jennings. So we'll say the equation. So the equation that we used to have for Kendrick Bourne now applies to Jawan Jennings. The equation is, hey, is Pearsall out and is Mac Jones in? Yep. Then you play Jawan Jennings. So he's a good probably start in this game. He's been really good as of late. So you roll with Jennings. So other options in this game, Johnny D, Johnny D. Tell me any breakdown you could give me, enlighten me on the Arizona backfield.
I'm sitting everyone in Arizona in the backfield. I'm not touching anybody.
Everyone.
I'm,
Let's name the names. Bam
I'm,
Knight, Michael Carter, Amari DiMercato.
they're all going to vulture each other, and they're all going to be full sets. The only situation where I would play DeMarcado of the three is if I think San Francisco is going to have 30-0 by the middle of the second quarter, and DeMarcado gets you a couple of PPR catches out of the backfield. Other than that, I'm not touching anything in Arizona right now. Clearly, the organization is getting overturned at the end of this year. They're done with Kyler Murray and whatnot. I think the coaching staff is probably gone. This is do or die for them this year, and I think they're done. I
I
think the team
think
has kind of had enough.
I think DeMercado, if I'm gonna play any name, it'll be DeMercado, to my dismay, because he dropped the ball at the 1 yard line. I have to say that every time that he said his name. But he will end up with some PPR points, to your point. I don't think that they have to be down that far for him to have PPR value. But your point's well taken. I mean, it's just a disgusting backfield now at this point. I mean, Benson has to come back to make this backfield easy. I'm so sick of talking about them every waiver show.
Sure, but even if Benson comes back, are we so convinced that Benson is going to be what James Conner was for them last year?
What James Conner was, no, but I am excited for him to come back and be Trey Benson. I mean, he had a couple weeks there where he was great as the lead guy. I mean, it
He
was
he
good,
had he had 1 week, had an awful week, and got hurt, and he's been out since.
but he was
So
still the lead guy. You wouldn't say that he wasn't. Like, he adds clarity to the backfield where currently there's just a mosh pit basically. It's just
yeah, it's a mess.
It's a mess. But let's talk about other options here in Arizona, though. So with the Harrison injury, it opens up some things for other options at wide receiver. I mean, any love for Wilson or Dortch here?
I'm throwing Wilson in, especially with Harrison out, but the passes have to go somewhere, especially if I think they're going to be playing from behind for most of this game.
Maybe all of
So
them go to McBride.
McBride and Wilson, that's who I'm throwing out there. I'm throwing Wilson out there as my starting lineup as one of my flexes. So if I have
I I know we kind of mentioned it off air, but one of the reasons why I feel better about DeMarcado is because Harrison went down.
him.
I could see them kind of getting the ball there more, and DeMarcado is like that kind of guy. But again, I would see DeMarcado again in very similar vein to, guys that we were talking about, like Spears, you know, Giants running back tier
Yeah.
of that level of stuff. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
not the prettiest. Other options for San Francisco, though. There is no more born supremacy. Don't bother with that. You stay away from that. And there's really nobody else to talk about. I do want to let's just talk quarterbacks real quick. Um, I think that you stay away from both Mac Jones and Jacoby Brissett here, especially Brissett now with the Harrison news. Maybe emergency. I mean, the only thing that makes me feel better about Jones is that their implied points is over 25 points. Um, but again, they are in Arizona, so I think that there's better options though. I really do. So
Well, when we say stream, that means 250 and 2 touchdown passes. And I think Mac Jones will probably get you that this week. So I like them better than I would rather put them over Sam Darnold, given what the matchups
I think
are.
that's very close. I think that's very close. I mean, would you play him over Tua?
Would I play Jones?
Jones over Tua?
Yeah, I would do that.
Would you play Jones over Mariota?
Yeah, yeah,
You
that's not
well,
a
just
question.
just to be clear, you'd play Mac Jones over Tua this week.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
Tua at home against Washington.
I'm playing the better offense.
I could make an argument that Miami is better when they're on target. I mean, you know,
Well,
but all right, tomato, tomato. You don't
you
have to.
make any decisions you want, my friend.
Well, these are
Whatever
all.
whatever meets your fancy.
Well, the long story short, there is none of those guys are in probably starts. Johnny and I both agree. I'm playing Flacco. I'm playing Rodgers over Mac Jones. There's no disagreement there.
Yeah,
So,
I agree with you.
yeah. Let's go to the next game. This is going to be another good game. These West showdowns. We got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Denver Broncos. Kansas City are road favorites, minus 3.5 points. The over under there is 44.5 points. So we've got another must-start defense, the Chiefs defense. Let's go. Other must-starts for the Chiefs: Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce. Let's go. Especially given the landscape. So no must-starts for Denver. Denver's going to be a real interesting conversation. Let's talk about probably starts. So we've got Kareem Hunt as a probably start. So this is entirely dependent on Pacheco. again, this is another one that I don't care what people tweet out. I don't care what people say. Um, I can't see Pacheco playing in this game. I just don't see it happening. So if Pacheco's a full out, then Kareem Hunt is a good probably start. Hunt was already in consideration even when Pacheco was playing. You know,
Mhm.
he tends to get PPR work and goal line work. It seems that
Mhm.
Pacheco just gets the groundwork between the 20s, which is not as valuable. Um, the other probably start for the Chiefs is Patrick Mahomes. Now, this is almost blasphemy to say because, you know, Mahomes has been so good up till now. I mean, he's been on such a tear, but he's about to walk into Denver, basically the best defense in football, at least the best pass rush in football. I think it's going to be a very low scoring game, this one. I think they're going to have trouble. I get it. It's going to be hard to sit Mahomes though. So we got him as a probably.
Well, I disagree with you wholeheartedly. I am sitting Mahomes this week.
You're a full sit on him.
Yeah, I think there's other options you could play that are better than Mahomes. And on the other side, Bo Nix for the same reasons for both defenses are excellent. And just like the Tampa Bay Buffalo, the game screamed over to me. This one screams under to me. So
Okay. Well,
this is going to be 19-13 and take your pick on who wins at the end here kind of game.
considering I'm inclined to agree with you, but considering that the entire fantasy community online considers Patrick Mahomes a must start for this game, we'll meet them in the middle and we'll call him a probably start. We'll go that route.
Well,
But
we'll,
let
we'll see. You know,
yeah, probably starts. We got one name on Denver side. We got one name for you, and that's RJ Harvey. And again, this is another one that's dependent upon the Dobbins injury. And again, this is another one that I don't care what Sean Payton says. I don't care what the GM says. I don't care what they tweet out. Dobbins is not playing in this game. They've got a bye after this game. There's no reason that they're going to push that. On top of the fact of, like it looked like it didn't look good the way that the tackle was in his foot. So he's going to sit the game. So with that, Harvey should be getting the bulk of the carries and touches. Although we did, you know, point out the whole bidet business this week, and you know Sean Payton is going to use multiple backs just to aggravate everybody who's been waiting for this opportunity for RJ Harvey. He's going to aggravate you, but Harvey is a good probably play in this game. Just to Johnny's point though, we think this game is going to hit the under, so maybe cap your expectations on all your fantasy options.
yeah, that's one of my biggest issues with not playing Mahomes this week is if I think the under is going to be there and neither team hits 20 points, where is, the Mahomes big game going to come from?
Because
That's,
he'll I mean, isn't Mahomes the leading rusher for the Chiefs? I mean, he'll get you 60 rushing yards. He'll throw a pop pass touchdown and, you know, he'll throw for another 200 yards and there you go. Right?
well, this is Denver's defense and they're in Denver. So uh,
Right. Well,
that's a really, really good pass rush.
well, we've elucidated it. I mean, people can make their decision on it. The general thing that you and I have is we're in agreement. We're trepidatious about it.
Hmm,
So,
hmm.
other options here, basically given how we feel about the game, there's not a single other option I'm excited about playing. No Worthy, no Hollywood, no Juju. I don't want to play now the Denver side, I mean, I don't even want to play Sutton. I mean, I don't want to play Sutton. I don't want to play Franklin. I think the both of them are full sits. I actually just traded Franklin in another league, basically because I think this is going to be a bad game and they're on a bye. I know that they've got some good matchups after that, but I needed to win these next 2 weeks. So I got some value. Um, yeah, I don't want to play anybody else. And to Johnny, to your point, you know, I think Bo Nix, it's not even a consideration. You full sit him here. It's just he's been too volatile and not in a game against Kansas City. Not in this game. Full sit. Let's go. Let it
Yeah,
go.
I played him last week against the Raiders, and that was obviously clearly a god awful decision. So I would be leery of Bo Nix. He's been way too hot and cold, and against that Chiefs defense, I don't think this is the week where he puts up 30 points. So
Yeah, and I'll just identify, you know, I probably should have had them as a probably start. I'm gonna make the change on my show doc. I'm gonna move the Broncos to probably start because I kind of agree with what you're saying. This could be a slugfest. The Broncos defense could be decent. Again, given in this kind of a defensive environment, given the defensive options that you have this week, the Broncos are probably decent. I
hmm.
wasn't so crazy about it given the line. The Chiefs have 24 implied points, but if we think it's gonna hit the under. I think the Broncos are good probably start. So maybe not as good as some other ones, but it's not a good week for defenses. So I'll make that change. Let's go to the next game. We got the Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns. Speaking of destruction, the Baltimore Ravens are road favorites minus 7.5 points. The over under there is 39.5 points. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the third best defensive start of the week, the Baltimore Ravens. Um, you're starting that D, you're starting the train of Derrick Henry, and you're starting Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry is about to, you know, make every comeuppance in this game. Mark it down. Derrick Henry is about to have 2 to 3 touchdowns, 700,000 yards. It's going to be a big game from Derrick Henry. On the Cleveland side, we have one must start, and that is Quinshawn Judkins. Hopefully he bounces back. Could be a tough day. I mean, it's always going to be a tough day with Cleveland because they never put up enough points, but you roll with Quinshawn Judkins. He's too talented. Probably starts in this game. We got the two tertiary options for Baltimore. We've got Zay Flowers, Mr. Up and Down himself, and Mark Andrews. After likely did not get traded, after Andrews did not get traded, um, our faith in likely just completely evaporated. And it seems like they're going back to Andrews now. So maybe a little faith is going back to him. He's a good probably start at tight end. Rock and roll with Mark Andrews. So
Mm.
other options in this game, Johnny, I would love for you to name a single other Cleveland Brown you'd be willing to play.
Judkins and Bannon and Njoku.
Yeah, Fannin and Joku could be decent shots.
Yeah. Here's for fun. Is this the week at the half Shador starts the third quarter?
Oh, I know
Is
Tommy
this
thinks
the
that.
week?
I know Tommy
Because
thinks.
I was at the game last week when Cleveland was at the Jets, and you know, I'm watching the first half, and he missed about 5 or 6 throws that should have been right on the money for first downs. Stay within the change you're supposed to. He was missing folks. I know it was raining and everything else, so like I don't think Dylan Gabriel is the answer, especially if he's not going to be accurate with the football. I don't think Shador is too, but everybody and the mother keeps clamoring for him to get his opportunity on the field. So I think this might be the week where he starts the third quarter. So
I'm going to be honest with you. I think you're right. And I think partially it's because it's in Cleveland. So that crowd is going to be doing whatever the shouting that they're going to be doing. And I don't necessarily think Shador is going to be good. And we went on a whole rant about Shador in the offseason. We're not going to do that now.
mm,
But given what Gabriel is doing and not doing, and just given the public, outcry about it, I think you're right. I think it's going to happen. So maybe mark that down. Doesn't
mm.
change how I feel about Judkins.
And no, Judkins is in your lineup for sure. Yes.
Yeah, and like we said, Fannin and Joker are good shots. To me, there's very little difference in how I feel about Fannin and Njoku, if Shador is playing or if Dylan Gabriel's playing. I wouldn't play Judy or Tillman though. Let it go. Not Thrash, not Bond. I'm not playing anybody else. On the Ravens side, though, any love for the Batman himself?
No, I'm not touching anybody else there. The only person you've already mentioned all the
Yep.
names that I would be willing to play in Baltimore. I'm not touching anybody else. Even Zay Flowers himself is so hot and cold. So
Yeah, it's
uh,
still. Yeah, I agree with you.
plus look at the over under. What did you say? It was 39.5 and Baltimore 7.5 favorites or 8.5
Hmm.
favorites. So
Absolutely.
I'm not liking any of the receivers there because they're probably going to be up in a low scoring game. Just kind of run the clock out for 60 minutes kind of deal.
Okay. Let's talk about the next game. We've got the Detroit Lions at the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia minus 2.5 points at home. The over-under there is 46.5 points. This is going to be another good game. I actually think this game hits the over personally. So we got a couple must starts here. We've got Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown on the Detroit side. Philadelphia side, Saquon Barkley. Let's go. And of course, you've got Jalen Hurts. Let's go himself. Jalen Hurts is funny because he manages to just get his points by any means necessary. I mean, he's been so good, and for some of it, man, it just looks so plodding. But you know what? He gets it done. So God bless them. They seem to get it done. Um, I think this is if I think if Philadelphia wins this, it's a foregone conclusion if they get to the NFC Championship game and they go to the Super Bowl. But we'll see if Detroit can put a stop to it. Probably starts in this game. So, Johnny, I want you like we got this as probably starts a couple guys here, but I want you to weigh in here. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. It's hard to put them in any other category other than probably start. But if it's me, I don't want to play them. Am I wrong?
I think you still have to play them. especially with the over under being 46.5. I think they're both in your lineup. If you, for some reason, blew it out of the park with a trade or something at the wire in order to not play one of these two guys, if you have them on your roster, then do so. But I think they're in your lineup. I don't think you probably don't have a better option other than either one of them.
Probably,
So,
yeah, and that's that. It definitely qualifies for probably. Yeah,
well, that's
but
the caveat. So if I
right.
don't have, like then they're in my lineup. It is what it is, and you just hope that that it works out.
Other probably start. We've got Dallas Goedert here, and I got it. It wasn't the best this past week, but I mean, he's been too good on the season, and he's had a couple of big blow up weeks. So I mean, Hurts is looking for him. I mean, this kind of season really coming out of nowhere, really, if you think about it. But this
Yeah.
is, but this is where I kind of. It's why I brought up Brown and Smith, Johnny, to get your opinion. This is kind of where we throw caution. There is no way that AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert all have good games. It's just not going to happen for the Eagles. There's not enough of a pie.
No.
But since any one of them could really have a great game, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles, it's the best team and yada yada yada. It's hard to sit any of them, right? Like it's just but they're not all going to have a good game. So some people are going to be unhappy. It's just simple as that, I guess. I guess you accept the dice as they fall. On
I,
the
I
deep,
feel I'm sorry.
go ahead, go ahead.
I just feel like this Eagle team has been sleepwalking for most of the year, and they're just kind of gliding along. And at some point, they're going to turn it on.
They're going to turn it on once they get to the playoffs, maybe. You
But
never
I
know.
don't know if this team is not as good as last year's team, and there
Right.
are a couple of NAC teams that are going to make some noise. Like Seattle is going to make some noise here, Tampa, Detroit in this game. So there are some teams that are going to have a say in what happens at the end of the year in the NFC.
It is, but I thought about this. Like, if they end up with home field, I can't see them losing. I can't see them losing. That's why I was saying, like, I was excited about the 49ers in before the season. I'm like, because the 49ers had such a cakewalk schedule, I'm like, if they end up with the home field advantage, I see them winning that game in the NFC Championship game. So that's why this game is so important. If Detroit wins this, it'll help that balance out, and maybe they won't have home field. We'll see. It'll
Hmm.
be an interesting how that plays out. Probably starts for the Lions. So, you know, we got Sam Laporta here. He's been so good. I mean, he's had some off, but I mean, in a game like this where he's this necessary, you got to roll with him. I guess
Yeah.
uh, it's unless you have a really better option. Let's go, Sam Laporta and Jamison Williams. Let me tell you right now, he's had two great games in a row, and the narrative is, good about it because the coaches are talking about him. It's making a thing that we need to get this super athlete the ball, yada yada yada. Amon Ra is swallowing up 17 defenders on the middle of the field, etc. I don't care. I'm still petrified about playing him. Can you make me feel better about it?
No, but I'm playing him, and I'm absolutely terrified. I lost I lost Harris in that league, so I really have no other choice but to play Jameson. So
Right.
I'm in that situation too, and I've been very pleased that the last 2 weeks he's had wonderful weeks. But am I sitting here saying, "Oh, for sure, he's going to give you 80 yards and a touchdown"? No, I'm not holding my breath on that at all. So
Yeah, I agree. And I maybe will have that fear for the rest of the season. Even if he goes, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row, it'll be like, well, here
yeah,
comes the zero.
he's been very hot and cold this year, and I would argue 60% cold rather than hot. So, spin the randomizer. What do you get this week? So,
Right. So yeah, so he's well placed and probably start. So let's talk about some other options here. On the Detroit side, I don't care how much love I have for him or the internet has for him. You're not playing Tesla, just you're not bothering with it. But I do want to talk about David Montgomery. So we have this other equation that we have for David Montgomery. So in games in which the Lions are going to smash the other team, you play David Montgomery, because essentially, like, they'll ground and pound, they'll use multiple backs, et cetera, et cetera.
mhm.
Games in which you think that the opponent is going to be competitive, you don't play Montgomery. And obviously, this is Philadelphia. I'm therefore worried about playing Montgomery. Now, don't hear what we're not saying. I'd rather play Montgomery than all the other yo-yo names that we were, the Spears and the Washington nonsense or the Giants. Like, I'd rather play Montgomery than them, but I'm not interested in playing him than, Vidal or other guys that we have as probably starts. So are you more confident than I am in that?
I would rather play Spears over Monty, considering what the matches are just for this week. But
Really? So you're there.
yeah, and uh, Monty has not been as good as he was last year because what was the formula for Detroit last year? Get a lead, lean on teams, hand the ball to Monty and the goal line for him to
and
punch it in.
and crush
So,
them, right?
and the Detroit has not been as good as they were last year, and they're probably going to end up losing this game. So, in this game, at the very least, is going to be tight.
I
And I
don't
think in
know.
a game that you think they're getting blown off the field?
Well, I've actually bought into the little bit of the narrative that Dan Campbell is calling the offensive plays now, so I'm a little bit I'm kind of buying the hype a little bit, and I maybe it's because I really like Dan Campbell, but I think that they have a real shot to win this game, and they're real motivated to do it. So I think they will. But either way, whether win or lose, it's going to be a competitive game. So they're not going to be crushing
Uh,
them.
I think Detroit needs this game more than Philly does. I do. So
Okay. Well, then, take of that what you will if you're a Montgomery owner. Other options on the Philadelphia side. So, I'm not playing anybody else. And by the way, we should make an extra point to mention that, both of the defenses are very good defenses. And in general, a lot of people own these defenses, the Lions and the Eagles. I'm not playing either of them in this game. Don't. It's like completely stay away from them. Even given this week's awful defensive set of options that you have, no, I would stay away from both of them. I think that you could do better elsewhere. And let's do a quick convo on Goff. It's been a good year for Goff, and he's had a lot of good games in a row here. Like, I mean, I'm waiting. The funniest thing that it's been for Goff is like, they could have a game where they crush a team 50-0, and then Goff has like 8 points for fantasy. I don't see that happening here, considering this is going to be a competitive game. That having been said, I'd rather play Goff than, maybe a lot of these other streamable kind of options, but I don't have him as a probably starter. I'd rather play Flacco and Rodgers, as we pointed out, but I'd play him over to JAMEIS, Mariota, et cetera, et cetera. Would you?
well, would you rather play Jared Goff or Jordan Love?
I would rather. We've got Love as a probably start. I think it's close. I have to go with how we have them ranked, and I would go Jordan Love. Yeah.
I agree with you.
Because even though my heart says Jared Goff and the Lions, and they're gonna go in and they're gonna find a way to beat the Eagles, mathematically we have to trust the process. Vegas says that the implied points for the Lions is only 22. Vegas feels good about Philadelphia. They're at home. You know what I mean? Like, I'm hedging a little bit there.
There's probably at least one rushing touchdown in that mix too,
Right. Right.
maybe two.
Right. Maybe Amon-Ra gets an end around. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So let's get to the final game of the week, which is likely to be the most fun game of the week, maybe out depending on whatever Jameis does. But last game here, Monday Night Football, we got the Dallas Cowboys at the Las Vegas Raiders. Dallas are away favorites. They are road favorites, -3.5 points. The over-under is 50.5 points. Let's go. We've got names galore in this game. Must starts for the Cowboys, basically their entire offense. Javonte Williams, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Fergalicious, and Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott might finish as the number one quarterback this week. We'll see. The Raiders side, it's their whole offense is two players, Ashton Jeanty and Brock Bowers. So roll with the both of them. We've got no probably starts in this game. So let's just talk other shots. Johnny, I know we're gonna have a longer conversation about the Raiders, but Dallas side, I know, you and Tommy both have a love-hate relationship with tertiary options for the for the Cowboys. Should I feel decent about playing Turpin, or is that just a bridge too far?
If the offense is humming against that god awful Raider defense, then yeah, I think Turpin is an option for you.
I don't know if they're god awful. I think they're going to be bad against the Cowboys, but I don't think they're god awful.
They're awful. They don't. Crosby is the entire defense. He's a fantastic player, but he's only one player.
It was
Um,
enough to shut down the Broncos, but I got it. The Broncos are not the Cowboys.
I think the Broncos shut themselves down. Honestly, they're ready for they're apparently they're already ready for their bye week 2 weeks before it. So okay. Um, but I think Turpin is an option if you want to throw somebody in for the week. I would argue that there's probably other receivers I would rather play over him. We mentioned some of them earlier. I
Oh
know my
yeah, yeah.
Bill is cold on Wicks, but I would rather play Wicks over Turpin for this particular week. Also, on the other side of the field, which we're about to get to, I think I would rather play a different receiver in Las Vegas than I would Turpin. So
Yeah, yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But I mean, somebody like Herbert, man, this is the deepest of deep shots. Like, and even like that's sort of what was my point to you about the Wicks thing. Like, I'm sure you have better ops. Like, I'd rather play Parker Washington from Jacksonville over those guys. I'd rather
Mhm.
play Wandale Robinson over those guys. You know what I mean? Like, you're like how far down the barrel? I'd rather play Tez Johnson. Like where along the barrel are we going there? So
No, I agree with all those names. I would rather play over Turpin. I
over
agree.
those guys.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the Raiders then. So in my opinion, I'm not playing a single other Raider, nobody else. That having been said, I think the internet is obsessed with Trey Tucker. I recognize his talent, but he is getting outworked by Tyler Lockett in this offense. So, what do you make of Trey Tucker, Tyler Lockett, and Dante Thornton? And is there any value here at home playing the Cowboys defense?
Don't forget who the head coach is, and don't forget who the quarterback is. So Lock and Plate in Seattle with the two of them. So just keep that in mind.
That's true.
Um,
That's true.
uh, I would of the three of them, I would play Tucker, but I'm not, excited about it. Honestly, I would argue that I would rather play Geno Smith than some of the other quarterbacks for a spot start. And I'm aware Geno has been an absolute mess this year, but considering how awful Dallas's defense has been and the Raiders are at home, that's something you may want to at least consider. But it doesn't mean that I'm not, not my heart's going to be bursting out of my chest that I'm deciding to play Geno Smith after the year he's had. So I'm not one of those ones where like, oh, Geno's going to have, a day upon days, but
Yeah, whether regarding Trey Tucker or even Geno Smith, and no
mm,
matter who it is that we're talking about, it's been a good thing trying to target the Dallas Cowboys defense this year, no matter what no matter what players it is that we're looking at.
yeah.
It's been a pretty good shot. That having been said, for the sake of our brand, after what Geno did last week, it's very hard to throw Geno Smith in this week.
Mm.
Um, if I had to compare him to these other streaming options in which we don't have them in probably starts, like I'd rather play. I mean, here I'll just give you the names. Would you play Geno or Darnold?
Geno,
Geno or Goff?
probably Goff, probably
Okay. Geno or Tua?
Tua,
Geno or Mariota?
Geno.
Okay. So you take of that what you
He's
will.
for me, he sits somewhere in the middle of those six or seven
I
names,
mean, these are these
roughly.
low quarterbacks. I mean, we have like the guys that we have, we mentioned must starts and probably starts for quarterbacks. Please try to roll with those guys. Please,
Yeah.
please, please. And if you're in quarterback, in a perilous place with your quarterback position, hopefully you can find, like some kind of value elsewhere. I got it. It's against the Cowboys, so but just consider your options.
Just
Yeah.
just be aware though, folks. The two trades the Cowboys made for the backer and for Quentin Williams, they are going to be
Yeah.
better. They will be better. They're still going to
Eh.
be bad, but they will be cool. They're listen. Obviously, we're me and Billy are both Jet fans, so we can speak from watching Quentin Williams over the years. He is a very very good run defender. He's an okay pass rusher, but he's a very very good run defender. So Dallas is getting a major upgrade in that area for sure.
Yep. Yeah, so should be a very good game. But that is the slate of games for week 11. So just a reminder to everybody, all of our must starts and probably starts will be posted in the description of this week's episode on YouTube. So check out our page on check out YouTube there when you can. So we thank you very much for being with us, and we very, very special thank you to Mr. Johnny D here, special guest stepping right in for Mr. Thomas Lang. Very, very happy to have you with us. And we thank you guys for having with us. You know the deal, like, share, subscribe, and thank you guys very much.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.